Good evening, sir. This is my memorization about sa Crim4. So first is duty. Duty is a moral obligation. Duty is a moral obligation because it depends upon the free will. Then next is subjectively. Subjectively, moral obligation. Moral obligation incumbent upon person of doing or omitting or avoiding something. Then next is objectively naman. Objectively is anything obliged to do or not to do. Anything obliged to do or not to omit. Then next is juridical right. Juridical right, all rights insofar as based on laws. Yun yung juridical rights. Then next is right to property. Right to property is the power to own, to sell, to barter, to lend, to change or give away of one personal possession. Then next to that is alienable rights. Alienable rights, these are civil, religious rights wherein can be surrendered, renounced or removed, such as the right of decent livelihood. Then next to that is alienable rights again is civil or religious rights. Alienable rights. The next is ecclesiastical or religious rights. Ecclesiastical or religious rights, this depends on the laws of a church or a religious act or religious sector. Then civil rights. Civil rights naman is depends upon the laws of the state. Depends upon the laws of the state. Next to that is human rights. Based on positive laws wherein either those enacted by the state or religious sector. Then next is natural rights. Natural rights are based on the law. It is based on the law that is not human in nature. Based on the law that is on human nature. Then next to that is kagandahan loob. Kagandahan loob, it refers to the attitude or stands for all good. Attitude or stands for all good. We can call kaibigan in human being. Then next to that is habit forming. Habit forming, we used to refer a certain experience that we can easily or easy experience that we can acquire to a certain situation. Then next to that is habits. Habits, it is a lasting readiness. Habits is a lasting readiness and facility, born frequently repeated acts for acting in a certain manner. Then next is violence. Violence is physical force. Violence is a physical force exerted to a person by another person for the purpose of compelling said person against the will. Then next to violence is fear. Disturbance of the mind. Fear is the disturbance of the mind to a people. wherein the person cannot the person is obliged to do something, whether uh, he did not want to. Then next to next to fear is negative emotion. Negative emotions composed by hatred, horror, sadness, anger, and fear, and despair. Then next is positive emotion, bravery, love, desire, and hope. Then next is passion. Passion naman is either tendencies. Passion is either tendencies toward desirable objects, or tendencies away from undesirable objects. Then next is ignorance. Ignorance is the absence of knowledge which a person ought to possess. Then next is simple voluntariness. Simple voluntariness, person doing or doing an act willfully, regardless whether he likes it or not. And then next is he likes it or not, either positive or negative. Then next to simple voluntariness is conditional voluntariness. Conditional voluntariness, the person is forced to do something in a circumstance wherein beyond of his control, with duress and with threat and intimidation. Then next to that is imperfect voluntariness. Imperfect voluntariness, person who act without fully realizing the means of his action or fully intending the act. Then next to that is perfect involuntariness is indirect voluntariness, act or situation which may result directly the act. Then next is voluntariness, came from the Latin word voluntas, referring to the will. Then next to that is amoral or indifferent action. These are the action wherein neutral in relation to the norms of morality. Then next is immoral or bad action. These are the actions which are not conform with the norm of morality. Then next is moral or good action. Moral or good action, these are the action with the conformity of the norm of the morality. Next is moral distinction. Moral distinction are dictates reasons through the norms of morality. Then next is combination of example of combination of external and internal voluntariness. Internal and external actions are driving a car, writing a letter. Yun, basta yun yung ano niya. Then next is external action naman. External actions, example is walking, eating, dancing, laughing. Then next is internal action naman, conscious reasoning, recalling something. Then next naman is commanded acts. Commanded acts, alam mo commanded acts? Commanded acts are either mental or bodily powers under the command of will. Then next to that is fruition. Fruition is the enjoyment. Fruition is the enjoyment of will. Then next is use. Use is the command of the will, make means elected, carry out of intention. Then next is election, consent, and intention. Sa election is the selection of will. Selection of will, those effective enough to carry. Then next is consent, is the acceptance of the will to those acceptance of the will to those who carry out the intention. Then next is the intention, the tendency of will towards something, attainable goal. Attainable but not necessary committing oneself to attain it. Yun yung intention. Then next is elicited acts. Elicited acts are these are performed by will and not bodily externalized. Yun yung elicited acts. Then human acts, in wide sense, it means of sort of activity. Yun yung human acts. Then human acts again is which precede deliberate free will to the men. Then next is police ethics. Police ethics is a practical science that treats principle of human morality and duty, the application of the law enforcement. Then next is aims. Professional ethics is a sub-branch of special ethics. It is a set of moral codes. On every profession. Then next aims to guide the actuation of professional practice of the profession. Then next is general ethics, study of a general principle of morality. Then next is ethics. Ethics is the rules of the social system. Then next is moral integrity. It is only true measure of what man can ought to be. Then next to that is morality is the quality of human acts by which considered as good or bad or indifferent. Then next is without morality, moral perception of man. And the importance of ethics, indispensable knowledge. Without moral perception, man is only an animal. Then without morality, man's rational being is a failure. Then the ethics came from the Latin word ethos or ethicus, which means customary behavior and moral. Then ethics is a branch of philosophy which talks about the right. Then next is Bill of Rights. Bill of Rights is the collection of most important rights of a person of a country. Then next is due process. It is a requirement or legal matter to resolve and establish the rules of principle. Then warrant of arrest, an order writing in the name of the an order writing signed by a judge directing to a police officer to take a person into custody for he bound to answer for the commission of an offense. Then search warrant is a document signed by a judge directing a police officer to search a particular place and to seize a particular thing. Then next is probable cause. Probable cause is the ground for the issuance of warrant of arrest or commitment order. Probable cause is determined by the prosecutor and also determined by the judge. Then next is in flagrante delicto. The person to be arrested is actually committed the crime and about to commit the crime. Then next is citizen's arrest. Citizen's arrest is a warrantless arrest performed by a citizen. Then next is warrantless search. Warrantless search is searching without a warrant. Then consent, freely or voluntarily agrees the person to be searched is freely consent is freely and voluntary agrees to search a property. Then plain view doctrine naman, plain view doctrine is the evidence clearly visible. There are 3 requirements of plain view doctrine. First is you should have first a legal justification why you stop the person or the vehicle. Then next requirement is you have seen the object involuntarily and or inadvertent. Then next is the last requirement for the plain view doctrine is the object you have seen is obviously can use for a commission of an offense or for commission of a crime like drugs, guns, ammunition. Then next is exigent jeopardize public safety. Exigent circumstances is jeopardize of public safety. Then defamation, saying or something that can hurt reputation. Then libel, defamation through written. Then slander, defamation through verbal. Then freedom of religion, you should have free will to choose what to believe, or to believe in any religion. Then next is inherent power of the state, power, police power, power of taxation, and power of eminent domain. And obligation of contracts, it is the obligation of the contractors to sumunod sa mga sumunod sa nakasulat sa kontrata. Then next is writ of habeas corpus, bring the body to determine if the arrest or the taking of the custody of the person is legal. Then bill of attainder, legislative acts that imposes punishment without a trial. Then next is arraignment. The defendant will formally charge the rights, and the court will provide attorney if he doesn't have one. Then next is fines. That's all, sir.